So let's start with branding then, now that you've mentioned that.
Yes, dear.
Okay. So I think streamers talk a lot about branding and like, what's your brand? I know a lot in the industry, people are like, well, it's more than your logo. And it is. But like, what does that mean? Like, thinking from a streamer perspective, what would your brand kind of be?
Well, a brand is so important because it will dictate the way you act online. Mm-hmm. Not just the way you act on social, but also during your stream. So if you're kind of like, your brand is being an obnoxious streamer, then you have to be obnoxious all the time, mm-hmm. pretty much. Mm-hmm. I always recommend, like, if you're going to be a personal brand, make sure that you're just yourself, because it's so hard to fake it all the time, and people can see right through it. Like, people are smart nowadays anyway, so they can see if you're faking it or not. So
how have you gone from yourself and concept to where you are now, building that brand out?
Well, I've been on Twitter for like over 10 years now, and at first I didn't know. I'm old, thanks.
Sorry.
Why am I here?
Who's the mean one?
And I like was building a personal brand, but I didn't know it at the time, so it was kind of an accident. And I like, once you start realizing that, hey, you're trying to accomplish something using online communities and online tools like social media or streaming, Mixer, Twitch, whatever it is, you are more aware of the way that you act online. And so just having a consistent, I guess, brand, or like acting consistently as well, mm-hmm. and looking consistent, so all like your images are all branded with your colors and everything, is so important, because then it's like someone will see someone's post in a feed and they're like, oh yeah, that's Amaya's. Mm-hmm. Amaya Maya.
So how does somebody like start figuring out like what their brand is? I hear that from people quite a bit. They're like, oh, you know, like, I'm just being me. Like, how do you turn that like more towards your social? Like, how do you make sure, or like hone in on that? Like, I think in the way that like, even when you write stuff, like, there are words that you use all the time, like dingus. Yeah, so like, dingus. If you like, your brand doesn't have to be like super serious and stuffy, right? But
I think, okay, so if everyone's just like, oh, like, I'm just me, mm-hmm. I don't know how to be like a brand, it's like, you're yourself. Mm-hmm. There's no one else like you. You are special. You're a little snowflake. You are a brand. And just like kind of own it and figure out like what your visuals are going to speak to, or like what they represent. And even with colors and things like that, you can also figure out what the colors mean in your logo or your graphics. And if you're just being yourself on social, then it's like, you don't really have to worry about like super branding yourself, because you're just you.
Mm-hmm.